March. Today I'm going to be wrapping up all the books I read in February. I didn't do a January wrap up because I barely read anything in January, so I'm just gonna include them in this video. Shh, don't tell anyone. But I will link my last wrap up video that I did down below. It was my 2016 wrap up where I talked about all the books I read towards the end of the year. So if you're interested, don't forget to check it out. So the first book I read in 2017 was Injection by Warren Ellis, which is actually a graphic novel. And I borrowed it from my boyfriend. And honestly, it was so strange and I'm still not entirely sure what it was even about. It's kind of like a group of scientists have come together to concoct this thing. It's like an injection that's supposed to be like AI or something. Honestly, like, don't judge me if I say something wrong because I swear the book is so confusing and keeps introducing new characters without explaining who they are and what they're doing, and it's just so strange. And like the injection somehow is like so intelligent that it kind of like warp your perception of things and it causes like delusions, and Jesus Christ. I feel like if you're gonna make a science fiction graphic novel, at least make it somewhat like understandable, because with it being a graphic novel, there's like a lot of things that you can't really explain, that you kind of have just like to imply in like the drawings or things like that, so you can't like flat out explain everything. I get that part, but still, it's not necessary for it to be that confusing at all, and it just seems like pointless and like really not enjoyable read. So yeah, I definitely don't want to read the sequel, even though my boyfriend technically owns it, but I don't think he's ready yet either because it's just so confusing. The next book I read is Hikikomori Adolescence Without End by Tamaki Saito, and this I read for class because I wrote a paper on hikikomori, which is a psychological condition in a way, where people withdraw completely from society and they will lock themselves up in their own rooms and not leave at all for like an extended period of time and have no contact with anybody. And Tamaki Saito is a psychologist, and this book was originally written in 1998. There was a noise. I heard a noise, I swear. I didn't imagine it. And this book is non-fiction. Basically it just like details his experiences with his patients that were suffering with this and how he treated it, and explained the condition and all stuff like that. So it's basically the go-to read on the topic, because there's not much else out there. I did my research. Nobody really contradicts him, so if you're interested in this, which by the way is a like phenomenon that comes from Japan, but definitely check it out. It is kind of controversial though, because it's really old and nobody has really done any new research on it. But I thought it was really interesting and really well written too, especially because it is like on a psychological issue, but he didn't really use any like scientific terms, and he didn't require the reader to be like completely knowledgeable about either Japan as a culture or the psychology part of it. So yeah, I thought it was really well written and I actually really enjoyed it. Okay, that's the kind of illegal part of the video done, because now we're actually on to what I read in February. The first book I finished is Second Life by S.G. Watson. S.G. Watson is the author of Before I Go to Sleep, which is one of my favorite psychological thrillers. I thought it was fantastic, and it's been out for several years, so this is her or his. Is it a guy or a girl? I don't even know. I don't know the author's gender, but they, Watson, I think this is the second book that they published, and honestly, I was quite disappointed with this. The premise of this book is that a woman's sister is murdered, and like all of a sudden she just dies and nobody knows like what happened. The police doesn't get anywhere. There are some clues, but they lead nowhere, and she's completely freaking out, and she has a history with alcoholism, and she kind of, the stress of it kind of gets to her, and she then like ventures off to find out by herself what happened to her sister, because her sister actually signed up for like an online like dating platform and stuff like that, and she signs up as well to try and find maybe guys that she got in contact with, and then yeah, things unravel. It's a psychological thriller, so there are like plot twists in it, and there are like suspenseful moments, and we're like, I'm sure it's this way and then it's a different way, and like there are a lot of those. And the ending definitely for me was unexpected. I didn't see it coming that way. I had my eyes set on a different kind of ending, like a different sort of culprit. In that sense, excuse my dogs barking in the background, I'm pretty sure mom's coming home and they're like having a heart attack. So in that sense it was not bad, but also the main character was just the worst person ever. She has zero common sense. She is so fucking stupid, and I honestly couldn't take her seriously. Like, every single thing that she does is a bad idea. She never thinks her like decisions through. She never like thinks clearly or does what any normal, like, decent human person with a normally functioning brain would do. Like, she never acts that way, and it just like frustrated me to no end. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably read some rants because I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. I wanted to throw this book out the window several times just because she's such a stupid person, and I think like that just like, it made me so anxious and so nervous, and like, I know it's not the kind of anxiety that you want to feel when reading a thriller, because I kind of wanted her to die. I wanted bad stuff to happen to her because it was so annoying. Wow. It's been a few weeks since I read this book, and still I managed to get myself this worked up over it, so you can tell, you know, by that, how freaking annoying I found it. The book itself isn't bad at all. Just the main character was a total knobhead, and it just like killed me inside a little bit every single time. Anyway, moving on because I will be the one having a heart attack next. The second book I read in February is The Vegetarian by Han Kang. This is apparently the winner of the Man Booker International Prize, and I know that it had garnered a lot of attention. Specifically last year, I saw it on several booktube channels, people were talking about it, and honestly, I was so disappointed by this book. Like, what did this win a prize for? Maybe I didn't get it. Maybe there's like some thing that you have to understand to like appreciate this book, but for me, I was like, what is this? I didn't get it. It just wasn't for me. This book is set in Korea, I think South Korea, and the protagonist is a woman that is married, and she suddenly like starts to have dreams in which she sees like really gory situations that all involve like blood and meat and stuff like that, and from those dreams she then decides to become a vegetarian. This is set in the current time, but it's definitely not something that is very like culturally and socially accepted, and her husband and all her family like constantly try to persuade her to eat meat, and then eventually she also stops to eat completely, like altogether, and they try to force her to eat and stuff like that. And the book is split in two parts, and the first part really is just kind of her descent into this, through the struggle, and I think a lot of people have interpreted this as like her way of breaking through like the constraints of society and of the expectations that are placed upon her, because she's not really like a love marriage, she's just doing what she's supposed to be doing, like what she's told, and kind of breaking through convention in that way, which that is like a good idea, I guess, to like, as for like a premise of a novel, especially in like a kind of the sort of constrained society that is like South Korea. And throughout this first part, I was still very hopeful that this would turn into something like big, and like that the real point of it all would be revealed soon, but the second part was just so disappointing. In the second part, it mainly deals with the husband of her sister, basically, who fantasizes about her sexually, and it just gets like really weird, and she descends further into mental illness, and I just kept losing sight of the point. Maybe it's just, honestly, it could be just me. I don't want to blame this book, because apparently some people thought it was amazing if it won a prize and like all that stuff. I just did not get it, straight up. The ending was weird, it didn't lead anywhere, I didn't get it. I am sorry, I was like really disappointed with this. The next book I read this month is The Innocence by Francesco Siegel. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw that I actually just read this last week on holiday, and I was so surprised by this book. It had been on my TBR for years now. I think I picked this up at like a reduced bookstore sale, something like that. I don't even know. I randomly saw it, liked the cover, thought it would be nice, and picked it up. And it turns out that this is actually a modern kind of retelling of The Age of Innocence by, I forgot the author's name, I'm sorry. I haven't read The Age of Innocence, so I don't know exactly how much is the same, or if it's just like the inspiration taken from that. I honestly don't know. I can only speak to this book, and I thought it was so great. This was such a stunning book. I was so impressed. The writing is amazing. It flows nicely. It's just such a pleasant experience to read this, and I was really taken with it. The book is centered around a Jewish family in North London, and their huge community of like Jewish friends and family, and it's often like mentioned in the book how close they are and how well they know each other and how like connected they are with every single person in this community. And that in itself, like the description of that community, was just like so heartwarming and like amazing. I just honestly, like, for that alone, I really like it. The main character is called Adam, and he is engaged to his really long-term girlfriend Rachel, and they're about to be married soon. And then suddenly her cousin Ellie from America shows up, and he grows like really infatuated with her. Like he starts to question the convention of marrying Rachel, like this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like Rachel is a very conventional Jewish girl, a Jewish woman, and she has like very limited expectations of the world. Like she's not very worldly, she doesn't like to travel, she's like very just traditional in that sense. And Adam starts to see the complete opposite of that in Ellie, who is like a model, and she's done like nude photo shoots, and she's involved with like a millionaire, and like a married millionaire, and there's like a whole scandal in New York and stuff like that. So she's kind of just the opposite of Rachel, and he becomes attracted to her and to her style of life, and like seeing something in her that like he could be and that he could do, free from the limitations of like the relationship with Rachel. So in that sense, the book really doesn't have much of a plot. Like you could describe everything that happens in this book in a few sentences, just plot-wise, but it is more about the characters themselves and their journey, and like yeah, it's kind of more a character study, I would say, on all the main characters, because even though Adam is the like main person that we like follow throughout the book is written in a way where you get a lot of information, all of the characters, kind of like from a God perspective in a way. It's just so interesting to learn about all these characters and like their motivations in life and how they fit into the fabric of everything. And yeah, everything is centered around this community, as I was saying, and I think that that's very interesting, and it was just so much fun to read about. And as I said, even though this book is not a page turner and the pace is sort of very slow, I still thought it was so worth reading. It's so well done, and it's not supposed to be a fast read. It's not supposed to be something when we're sitting at the edge of your seat. It's more really just about this conflict between familiarity and convention and tradition and kind of what you're supposed to do, and like maybe what you want to do, maybe the wilder sides of life, like breaking the rules, going outside of the conventional ways of things, and kind of being torn between those two and not really knowing what it actually is that you want. And yeah, I thought it was really well done, really liked this one. Gave it, I think, 4 stars. I was so surprised, honestly. I hate that I waited this long to pick it up because it's such a stunning book. Honestly, definitely recommend it. And the final book is the most surprising book of all, because just last year I filmed a video where I was talking about how I was breaking up with YA, and there were crocodile tears, not really, but like I have just not been into YA at all for the longest time, and I've like had no motivation to read it, and whenever I tried to read one I was like, this is crap, this is not for me, I don't need this in my life anymore. And then last night I was just sort of feeling it. I was like, there's this book on my TBR that I have had for years. I should probably check it out because I'm kind of feeling it. And then literally I read it in like 2 sittings. I read the first half last night and the second half this morning, and I was so hooked. And that is Burn for Burn by Jenny Han and Siobhan Vivian. I don't know what it is about this book, but it hit the spot. It hit the spot that I didn't even know existed. Basically, this book is like the most cliched, standard, stereotypical like high school story where 3 girls have hold like grudges on separate people, and they decide to like group up because they're gonna take revenge on them. And it's just so basic and it's written in such a basic way, and it just, I honestly, like, objectively this book would not be something I would enjoy anymore, but I swear I was so instantly addicted to it and I thought it was so good. This is like the ultimate guilty pleasure, and I literally, when I finished it this morning, the first thing I did is I ordered the sequel because it also comes with a cliffhanger, and I'm like, I can't just not buy it. So yeah, I guess I'll be reading this trilogy, the second, the third book, pretty soon, because I honestly, I can't even explain it. I have no words to explain what I found so fascinating about this book, but it just had something. And yeah, that is it for all of the books that I read in February. I have unfortunately not had a lot of time to read the past few months, and it made me very sad, so I'm really glad that I got back into it, and I read like a lot the last 2 weeks, and I'm enjoying it again so much. So yeah, hopefully this semester at uni that starts tomorrow it's not going to be as stressful, so that I can read a little bit more, because that would be great. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any thoughts and comments you have on the books I talked about down below, and let me know what was your favorite book that you read this month. Was it a romantic one because it was Valentine's Day? I want to know. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, because there are going to be more book related videos coming out very, very soon. Since I'm now back into reading and like really feeling it, I'm also very motivated to talk about the books that I read. So yeah, look out for that. I'm gonna see you soon. Have a lovely week. Bye!